Santa Claus, what the hell are you doing here?
I've come to put you to work, bitch!
Santa, what do you want from me?
You need to find a magical, wonderful Christmas tree for your followers to see in the background of all your videos throughout December.
What are you talking about, Santa?
You have to avenge me! Avenge me!
Christmas tree? I don't understand. Where are you going?
Why was my flashback sepia tone? Oh well. There you are.
Something like that. Hello. Oh, wait. Yeah, there we go. Hello and welcome to a new video. It's December, and that's why we have the tree. I quickly want to thank Team Burton for making the little star. And yes, it's almost Christmas. So yes, let's get into it. But don't worry, I'm not going to do the same thing that I did in October where, you know, I had a bunch of Halloween videos. We are going to keep things at least somewhat normal. Normal for being us, but not normal for other YouTube channels. But let's face it, who needs them? They're not very interesting or fun. So let's get into it. So you might remember this guitar. I've been playing it for a long time now. It hasn't been in a lot of videos, but I really do like it. And it has started to get some problems with the electronics. Some small little issues that are telling me that I need to take it apart and take a look. I'm pretty sure of what is wrong, because it's one of the most common issues you will have with your guitar. So I'm going to open it up and take a look. That's not what this video is about. No, this is a video that I've been putting off for so long. Actually, almost immediately after I made the first video where I reliced this one, I said that I was going to show you how to relic the hardware without using muriatic acid, which is the most popular way of relicking things. There is nothing wrong with relicking with muriatic acid, but it's actually not very good for you. It's, you know, acid, which you might realize from the name, muriatic acid. But it's probably the best way of relicking guitar parts if you know how to do it correctly. And there is a lot of videos on YouTube showing you how to do it incorrectly. So I'm gonna have to make a video where I show you how to do it correctly. But it's not this video, because I wanted to make this video first, because I feel like the way I relic things without muriatic acid, which we're gonna go through on this guitar, works better with this guitar. It has the 70s headstock, even though it's a square, and it will, the way I relic without muriatic acid, will mimic more of what a 70s guitar look. Most of the time when people are doing relic guitars, they want to do something that feels more 50s or 60s, but this will never be a 50s or 60s guitar. This will at the best be 70s guitar or something. So we're going to do this. Now, first, a rule is less is more. Always do less than you think you need to do, so that's what we're going to do. The first thing we have to do is we have to take all the hardware off. That means the bridge and the input jack plate, the knobs that holds the shoulder band and the plate and the tuners and all the screws as well. Oh, and the back tram on this one. I'm quickly going to take it all apart and I'll put the scratch plate to the side and leave it for another video because, as I've already said, the issue fixing electronic video will be the next one. The next part you'll need a bucket for. Something small like this. The important part is that you have a lid, that you can close it up, like so. And what we're going to do is just take our bucket and all the hardware parts, all the screws, the bridge, everything. And put it in there, like so. And then put the lid on. Like so. In other videos you will see people do this and they will have taken everything apart completely. I'm not going to do that because taking the bridge apart as much as possible is not gonna be a good idea, because I feel like the bridge has been on the guitar the whole time. It's not been off and relicked. So leave everything intact, and then you're gonna have to start shaking this like this. Now this is super annoying and irritating and will create a bunch of horrible sounds, and I don't want to put you guys through that. So while I do this, we're going to take a commercial break and we'll be back real soon once I've shaken this for about 10 minutes or something like that. Okay? See you in a bit.
Have this ever happened to you? You're walking down the streets just minding your own business and your pick falls down a well. Do you long for days when picks stays where they're supposed to be? Then you need the new boomerang pick. No matter how hard you try to lose it, it always comes back to you. Because it's made out of the bones of an old god and tethered to your soul. Boomerang pick does not take any responsibility for any demons that might have been summoned by using this pick.
Okay, so after shaking everything around, everything should have little small dings in it and scratches, and you might not be able to see it because they're pretty small. Next step is we're going to take matches and a knife, and we're just going to roll them over a little bit like this to just take off a little bit. And then we're going to just press them into the holes of the tuners. If you don't have vintage style tuners, then this is maybe not one of those things that you need to do, but I have, so I'm showing you that I have to do it. And then I'm just gonna score around it and cut it off. So we have that hole plugged a little bit and leave it sticking out a little bit like that so that you can easily remove it once we're completely finished, because yeah, it's important to be able to take them out, because we obviously don't want to leave them in there. And then you just take the match or tiny piece of wood. You don't necessarily need to use matches, and you just repeat it again, stick it in, score with a scissor and cut it off, and there we go. Once you've plugged all the tuners, we're going to take some electrical tape, and we're just going to take the tape and cut tiny little strips, super small strips like this, and we're just going to try and place it in between full pieces like so. Obviously it depends on what sort of bridge you're doing this to, but like that. And that is just to protect the space where the string goes and keep that area smooth and nice. So once you have tape on all the saddles and you've plugged these holes here, we can move on to the next step, and that is we're going to sandblast all the parts. Some of you might have realized that that's where I was going, and it is actually a pretty nice and cool thing you can do. And you can do this to just make anything look a little bit cooler. But yes, we're going to sandblast. And I want to just say this real quickly so that you don't misunderstand me, because this is super important. We are not going to sandblast for very long. Just a couple of seconds on each part. Don't stand there trying to get all the chrome off or anything crazy like that. You can do that if you want to get a weird look on your parts. That could be something else, something different, something cool. Sure, but that's not for a relic look. We're just going to do it to get some of the sheen off. And we're going to be very quickly. And we're also going to try to not go in straight line and be even, but go crazy and sort of blotchy, because we want to get a random feeling of where. I'm going to try to film this, but it's most likely going to be very hard to do. So I'm just telling you now, so that when you're watching me do this, you feel maybe like you understand. It's hard to film these sorts of things and talk about them and explain them in a way that makes sense, but I also don't want it to be totally weird and not say anything about it. Yes, a sandblaster is just sand and you shoot it inside of a box or something. So once you're done with blasting all the parts, they will be a little bit matte and gritty and looking a little bit. I do have this one right here, which I think looks really good. It looks really matte and nice. And then I have one that is not exactly the same, but you can see how much of the shine was taken off. And it was really hard to show you what I did, but we're talking seconds, only blasting it real quick and just getting all the dirt off. And so now we can take our tuners and we can just pull these out. And for the ones of you who are maybe a little bit like, I don't understand why you did put that thing in there, it's because these are the opening for the stuff that is inside to grease them, and you will get sand in there if you don't plug them, and you don't want to have sand in your tuners because then you will have issues. So let's pull these out, and I'm using the scissors just because it's a little bit easier. And then we'll do the same thing here. We'll take off the tape here. You won't really be able to tell unless you've really over sanded, but yeah. So let's just take these off real quick. I'm gonna use my compressor with this attachment to just blow any remaining sand away, just to be sure that there is nothing stuck. Like so, when it comes to the screws. As long as you have them screwed into something and you protect the threads of the screw by having them in a scrap piece of wood or something, you shouldn't have any issues. Just be careful, you don't want to overblast them. But now we can just put these screws back where they belong, and we're just gonna basically put the guitar back together. Here I have a brush and cup, and in it is a little bit of white spirit and lacquer stain. and I'm just going to mix it together a little bit. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos about lacquer stain, you might not know this, but it's amazing. And so I'm just going to basically let it just flow in everywhere, in every corner and every detail, and just let it be absorbed. Just brush it on and leave it there to dry. And it's a little bit sticky, but eventually it will stop being sticky once it's like fully cured and stuff. So don't worry, is what I'm trying to say. I'm just going to do the same thing over here. And I'm just going to brush around in here as well. And yeah, I'll be back once I've done this a couple of times, because I need to do it more than once. Otherwise, you just won't see it. So let me just do it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to try and show what I mean on this one. So I just dab on a bunch and I just smear it around and I just put it on. I made a little bit thicker of a juice just to get in a little bit more, so I didn't have to do as many layers, just because it doesn't really work for making videos to work in the way that I would like to. And then I just leave it like that for a little bit. And I do this to everything. I even did it to the pickups, even though I didn't relic the pull pieces, which you can imagine, because you can't relic the pull pieces with sandblasting. You will destroy the pickups. And then I just dab it off with some tissue paper, just smear it around, and it will get stuck in all the little nooks and crannies. Something like that, look grimy and dirty. And to be honest, right now I feel like this is a little bit much, so I'm gonna go. And here's the bridge, and we can do the same thing, just trying to get it in all the little nooks and crannies behind the screws, you know, just get it in all over the place and just smear it around. Take a piece of paper and dab off the excess that lies on top of things, so that it doesn't look weird, and let it sink into, like, in the screw grooves and into the springs and things like that. And I'm using a brown lacquer stain, but I will probably, most certainly, come back with a yellow golden one as well, to just sort of get two different colors going and things like that. So something like that. I'm going to leave this to dry for a bit. Just grease it around, smudge, 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 smudge. And I do it to all the screws as well, just trying to get some of this to just fill in all the little dings and cracks and smudges, and just move it around. I'll take my paper and I dab it around and I just remove as much as I can. And the sandblasting, it will just fill up all the little mistakes and dings and cracks that has occurred. So it will be like real grime, except this won't be grime that you like wash off or that is like gross or anything. This will be grime that is stays put. Okay, so here we have some tuners, and I just do the same thing. I just smear around a little bit of this lacquer stain. I'm just trying to get it into all the little nooks and crannies and smear it around. And you don't have to worry. I can hear your comments before you've even started, but I can hear your asking if it matters if it gets onto the neck. But the thing is, the neck will, I mean, like, dirt doesn't accumulate like out of nowhere, or like, I don't know if that makes sense, but if the tuners are really dirty, the area around surrounding the tuners will be dirty too. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I mean, obviously I'm gonna wipe most of this off. So if you feel like, oh, he's really putting that on and he's making a mess all around, just just chill out for a bit with your comments before, and just let me put this on and leave it on for a bit, and yeah, we'll wipe most of it off once we've gotten it on. Okay, so now I'm just gonna remove a little bit, and I'm just cleaning it off and just going in between it. Yeah, just taking off with a little bit of tissue paper. And I didn't say this earlier, I said that in every video I've ever made, but I don't use like tissue paper as in like toilet paper. I am using a special kind of paper that is for like working with lacquer and things like that for your car. So it's really fine and it doesn't fray or anything like that. So if you're like, whoa, when I do this with tissue paper it doesn't work, it's because I'm using something that is like a fine fiber cloth kind of paper. There you can see the tuners. They look a little bit grimy and dirty. And now I'm just going to leave them to dry for a little bit. And I'll do the same thing that I did on these, which is come back with a different color stain. And I didn't show you on this, but I'll show you on the tuners. So let's go over this again with just a little bit of this more golden brown and just get it in there a little bit. And you don't have to care about if you get like streak marks or anything like that either. Just ignore all that. Just make sure you get it on and that it's uneven and gross. Because I know someone is most likely going to ask if I don't say anything. Yes, your tuners might get a little bit stale from this, but after moving them around a little bit and tuning the guitar a couple of times, you really shouldn't feel anything. So if you do this and you're worried afterward, like, oh god, I ruined my tuners, please calm down and just relax for a bit and tune your guitar a couple of times, and you will break up the lacquer a little bit, and it will be all good, and you don't have to worry. Okay, so here's the guitar now, and hopefully you agree with me that all of the hardware looks better. Here's the back of the headstock and the plate. And yeah, there are a couple of things to think about, like high spot and things. Like, for example, it will be more grimy and dirty in there where everything can get accumulated, and also between the saddles and in where the springs are. But other places, like up here, don't do too much up there. And the same thing here. This is always rubbing against your body. So focus more on in the screws here and around the edges and in the grooves surrounding the springs, the screws. But don't on the middle do too much, because this will be basically like polished. So think about those sort of things. The same thing with the screws on the pick guard. It might be hard to see, but if you look inside of the screws right there, they're pretty dark in the middle. And it's just because that's where, grime and dirt and stuff will happen, and the oxidations and stuff like that will be more. Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you think it looks nice. I just want to say before I go that I understand there are a lot of people who don't like relic guitars, but please keep in mind that this is my guitar, and I really like this guitar. This is one of my favorite guitars, and so you don't have to like relic guitars. I don't understand why you're watching this video if you don't like relic guitars, but yes, please keep in mind that this is my guitar and be respectful about that, because I don't think you would like it if I showed up at your house and started bad-mouthing your guitars, and especially not the ones you really like. So you don't have to agree with me that this is an awesome guitar, but you don't have to share that with me either, okay? Just, I don't mind mean comments and things like that, but I also feel like it's unnecessary, and it's not productive, and it doesn't really add anything. So, be better than mean, at least. But anyway, with that out of the way, thanks so much for watching, and again, I hope you enjoyed the video and the relicking, and that you will try it out. The relic that I provide you in this video, I believe, is better in a lot of ways, because you're not introducing any rust or potential rust. A lot of people will use muriatic acid to start the rusting process, and then they will forget a very important part, which is that you have to stop that rusting process and make sure that it doesn't continue after you're done and put the guitar together. So this is a lot safer in a lot of ways. It's also without any real damage to your lungs or health or anything like that. Obviously you might shoot yourself in the eye with the sandblaster, but that's kind of a hard thing to accidentally do, and I hope you're careful using the sandblaster so you don't hurt yourself. That's the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I think this is like the 5th time I said that, but I really do, I really mean it. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, stay awesome and cool, and go and use this relic technique on a guitar that you want to relic. Just keep in mind that doing less is more, and I really mean it. You might think that I went crazy on this one, but I really didn't. The sandblasting of this part was just a couple of seconds, just going over it real quickly, and I think it looks really nice. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Ah, you're still here. Okay, now he's got to be gone. Why are you still here?